Welcome to the Breaking News Show with Breakaway USA, where we shatter the mainstream narrative by giving you insights into things the media will never show you. If this is your first time tuning in, well, then thank you. And if it's your return time, well, you're the reason why we do this. My name is Fabian Garcia, and alongside me, as always, we have Mr. Kevin Fairs and Mr. David Kate. Take it away, David.
Welcome back, guys. It's going to be such an awesome show. We have hedge funds this morning waking up and losing upwards of $3 billion on some meme stocks. And of course, we're going to have to visit at the same time this one part of New York. The other part of New York, we have to visit what's going on in the trial inside the courts of Trump's trial. We have a big pharmaceutical company. Their vaccine was pulled off the market. So we have to talk about that. And don't worry, we're going to make sure that we comply with YouTube's guidelines here. That way we don't get kicked off. But that's an interesting story on its own. Battleground poll updates. We all woke up this exciting Monday. Maybe not so exciting on a Monday, but it's awesome to see such great polls come out again across all battleground states. But there's some interesting news inside of that, but we're going to get into all that. And of course, we can't end the show without Kev's quick hits. Gentlemen, before we start the show, how was the weekend? How's everything going?
We're actually we're back after a week off.
It's been quite a while. I believe there was some vacations taken, not by myself, but
yeah, I was in Miami for a while, just visiting, exploring, soaking up the sun. No humidity yet, so it was very nice. Very glad I went.
You look a little bit darker. I don't know if that's the sun or if it's just something.
I got a lot of sun.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
We'll forgive you as long as you're vacationing somewhere like Florida. Florida is, a nice state, I would say. It's always good to escape where you're at.
for the first time, I was walking around the streets and not worried about getting stabbed or a heroin needle stuck in my side. It was honestly very different than walking around Hollywood where I live. It was like, oh wow, this is normal. Everyone just does what they do. Interesting, huh? How that works.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, fellas, let's get into the first story because trending all over this Twitter this morning, we woke up and we saw that GameStop, a meme stock essentially, is up 70 to 80%. And right away, I knew this has to do with some kind of short squeeze going on. So short sellers actually woke up losing billions of dollars, especially the big hedge funds. Specifically, one hedge fund is down $1 billion because GameStop is up 70%. And this actually is a flashback for a lot of hedge funds. I know they're nervous about this because this happened in 2021 as well, when hedge funds lost upwards of $80 to $90 billion for their short positions on companies like AMC, GameStop, these companies that they believed that were valueless. But the interesting thing about that, and it just shows you the power that we as the people truly have in our hands against institutions and elites, is that you can go and essentially squeeze them. And by what I mean by this is that when companies, especially big hedge funds, takes a lot of money, their clients' money, and they say, this company, we're going to bring that stock from $30 down to $0. We're going to bankrupt that company. When they bet on that and they don't win because a lot of people like us come in there and start to buy up a bet that essentially would drive the stock up, we squeeze them out of their money. So a lot of hedge funds were not happy this morning. Fellas, what do you guys think about this? Because again, this is in the first round.
Well, I want to talk a little bit, and I know, Fabian, you might have something, but this is something that really fascinates me because I love the populist vibe of this and the idea that we have a lot more power than we realize as long as we are part of each other in numbers. And so the reason why this gains so much traction is because Roaring Kitty is back. And like, I don't know, you guys might not know who Roaring Kitty is, but the reason why this started in the first place is because this like random YouTuber who used to just like have like similar to like me or even you, David, have like a decent following, decent numbers and everything, blew up because he got the attention of Wall Street Bets and Reddit forums and all these people. He was just like, screw it, we're going to send GameStop to the moon. And I don't know if you guys, there was even a whole movie that came out about what he did back in 2021 during COVID. And he's just like this random streamer dude who ended up making millions and millions. And he posts one tweet, and I pulled up the tweet. I put it into, I sent it to you, Cody. This is what he tweeted like late last night, early this morning. I don't know. Was it that one? This is what he tweets. And all of a sudden, GameStop goes up like 200% because he. Which just shows you that even 3 years later, the residual effects of what he did back in 2021 as leading the movement to screw over these financial institutions and people. The thing is that what you also don't realize is that a lot of the people that he screwed over are people like Ken Griffin.
Yeah.
You guys don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fund investor that donates significantly. A lot of people considered him a Republican donor for quite a while, but he's been exposed in the recent years as being a uniparty donor. He will donate specifically to rhino Republicans, people that are not by any means populist or anti-Trump. That's who he donates to. And so not only did this have implications to the financial populism that we can have with the strength in numbers and screw over these banks that bet against solid businesses, it also shows that we can screw over the people that are contributing to the uniparty financially and controlling the uniparty.
I am so happy this is happening. I was a large partaker in the meme stock craze, a few years ago, and I have some crazy stories that I could tell at some other point about money made and money lost, and just a roller coaster ride between me and all my friends that were in it. Yeah. Here's the thing. The populace, as you said, Kevin, I believe, it is a populist movement. And back then, when it first happened, no one really understood what was happening. We were deep in Reddit forums. We're deep in learning what exactly is this. What is box cellaring? What is short cellaring? What are naked shorts? What are all these things? And how can these companies create stocks that don't exist and use that to leverage themselves and push the price down? Well, since then, since the craze first happened, you've had documentaries come out, movies come out, people understand it now. So you have a much larger aggregation of people that understand what's at stake and how to beat them. So yes, they have high frequency traders. Yes, they have payment for order flow. Yes, a lot of people got screwed using Robinhood because they just couldn't execute their orders. Robinhood mysteriously went down. But you have all these things, and it's kind of like the 2020 election over again, right? Okay, Democrats, you know what? I give it to them. They lied, they cheated, they stole. I get it. Not going to happen again. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now, I feel like that's what we're going into now is a large, and all these kids that were growing up a few years ago, they're now older, have a little bit more money, that love this kind of stuff. I mean, we just went through a mini crypto bull run. So all of those kids, or not only kids, but all those people are going to be interested in something like this. And I can't wait to see if the shorts get burned even worse than before.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be exciting to see. And in the coming days, we'll actually know exactly how much these hedge funds are going to take a loss in total. I think you both said it perfectly. This is a populist movement. It's, again, a populist, essentially reactionary movement to these financial institutions, the elites inside of them, overstepping what they want to do, again, trying to take down these companies. And it's nice to see that we still have power, that we can fight the bigger institutions by just coming together and going against it. I'm excited to see how much they're going to end up losing. And we're going to update everybody as we continue going over this topic. But I want to kind of switch a little bit of gears and kind of remain almost in the same city in the sense, because, the New York Stock Exchange, we're going to go visit Trump in court in New York. A lot of exciting updates and developments there, Kev. What do you have for us?
Absolutely. We're going to speed run this because, as we know, this is all political persecution. This is not by any means concerned with what Trump is actually facing trial for or anything. And there's multiple instances that I can show in these. In two of these examples, two of these parts, there's three parts to this story. First off, last week, as Stormy Daniels testified, Stormy Daniels, the porn star who was supposed to be the quote unquote star witness, but even a CNN analyst will admit that her testimony was disastrous. I think that we have that clip ready and pulled up. Let's take a look at this clip right here. Make sure that it's because I put on there the timestamp to go from to. I don't remember exactly what it was, producer Cody, but I think I put it on there like 423, I think. Start from 423. Because this is the CNN analyst talking about there's a little bit of an ad here, which is okay. We can
that's how we pay our bills, right?
Yeah, here we go.
My impression was she was plausible on her explanation of what happened in that hotel room. It's hard for me to believe that a juror heard that and thought, this is entirely made up. There may well be some embellishments with Arthur, I think, pointed out effectively in the last hour. But I think it's quite clear they had sex in 2006 in that hotel room. But the cross-exam, boy, her responses were disastrous. I mean, do you hate Donald Trump? Yes, of course she does. That's a big deal. When the witness hates the person whose liberty is at stake, that's a big damn deal. And she's putting out tweets, fantasizing about him being in jail. That really undermines the credibility. The fact that she owes him $500,000, she, by order of a court, owes Donald Trump $500,000 and said, I will never pay him. I will defy a court order. The defense is going to say she's willing to defy a court order. Why? She's not willing to respect an order of a judge. Why is she going to respect this oath she took? So I thought it went quite poorly on cross-exam. At the end of direct, I thought, okay, they got what they needed, but I think the cross is making real inroads.
Can I ask?
Awesome. Okay, so that's all we really need to watch for that. Here's basically what's going on with
Wow.
Stormy. So here's the thing, too, that everybody needs to know is so this is a fraud trial. Stormy Daniels, star witness, gets up there and starts talking about how, all the salacious activity that happened allegedly in this hotel room with Donald Trump, that she spanked his tight little white ass and all that kind of shit. This is a fraud trial about money. And not only is she getting up there and saying things like, I hate Donald Trump, when your star witness is saying that they hate the defendant, you're going to lose credibility, just as that guy said from CNN. And here's the thing is when you have a porn star as your star witness, you're bound to get fucked. And that's exactly what happened here. So what do you on Stormy Daniels? I don't know what you guys heard, but that's the gist of what you need to know. What do you guys think?
I feel like this is just another attempt at just taking Trump through the washing machine and just letting everything out there for everyone to see, to lay out there and dry. Everyone knows this happened. This is not new news. They're just trying to get they're trying to push everything they can to, I mean, it's not working. And it's not working, especially when she went on Bill Maher's show a few years ago, and she completely contradicted everything she said on the stand, which tells me, how can someone so blatantly change exactly what they said when their words were posted on national television and everyone has a recording of it? Like, isn't that defamation? Isn't that illegal to do, especially when you're swearing to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I mean, it's just insane. Literally, it's a complete opposite of what she said on the stand than what she said on Bill Maher.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And that's exactly what I was going to say, Fabian. Kev was talking about the credibility of all of this. This is the perfect example of what happens in banana republics. I just can't believe that this is happening in New York City, in America. You know, we're not talking about some third world country where this happens all the time. It's literally it's like a monkey court or something like that. And she lost kangaroo court. There you go. There you go. Excuse me. I don't,
Yep. All good.
But no, kangaroo court. Exactly.
He's not Australian.
Exactly. But she lost all credibility because of what she said on the stand versus what she said on Bill Maher a few years back. She said that the Me Too movement and all the components around the Me Too movement, all of that were not a factor in whatever happened between her and Trump. Well, now she's over there in court saying the complete opposite. And when you start to virtue signal all this BS like that, especially off the stand, and like you said, Fabian, under oath, I mean, you lose all credibility. And technically, in a real judicial system that isn't corrupted by a bunch of politically hungry individuals, that would be thrown out immediately. But of course it's not, and we have to live through it. So
absolutely. And that was last week, and she was blowing up everywhere, and it was genuinely, as Fabian was touching on, and same with you, David, is it was not at all about the fraud. It was not about the money. It wasn't about any of that. It was all about bringing this back into the media, redoing the Stormy Daniels controversy that has been played and played and played to a point that even the American people recognize the broken record that it is. But speaking of things that are broken, that's Michael Cohen and his testimony, which happened today. Ex-lawyer for former President Donald Trump testifies that he secretly recorded him before the 2016 election. And if you know anything about being a lawyer, this drastically violates the entire idea of attorney-client privilege, especially now that it has been radically shared throughout pretty much the entire courtroom and even outside of just that. But Michael Cohen is a constant liar. He's been somebody who is time and time again, he's perjured in Congress. He was convicted of that. And he even admits to lying to multiple people throughout this testimony that he gave today. Michael Cohen, who previously worked for Trump, said during his testimony at the former president's criminal trial today that he used his iPhone to record a conversation between himself and Trump in September of 2016. Cohen claimed that the conversation was in regards to a supposed payment to former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker over an alleged affair between Trump and model Karen McDougal. Cohen, whose credibility has been challenged by Trump and other Republicans, claimed he recorded the conversation to show that Trump was going to pay Pecker. When asked if Trump was aware that he was being recorded, Cohen said he was not. In the recording, Cohen says that he will be setting up a company to transfer all of that info regarding our friend David. Well, we have a friend David, but he didn't get paid for any of
Did
this.
you get paid, David?
Maybe.
No, and as I said once again earlier, this was all about a fraud trial, and Michael Cohen, similar to Stormy Daniels, has been on social media. He's actually recently been doing a bunch of different Instagram lives, wearing T-shirts that show Trump behind bars. He is like Stormy Daniels. He is a corrupted witness. When these are your people that are supposed to be, and this is just something I get mad at, not only for my political views and the fact that I believe Trump is being politically persecuted, but as somebody who wants to practice under the bar, be an attorney, it makes me so mad that your star witnesses are out there publicly while President Trump is gagged by the judge, by Judge Merchant. President Trump is gagged and he's not allowed to say anything. And you have your star witnesses for the prosecutors coming out, and they're actively saying, we want the guy that we're testifying against. We want him in jail. We don't like him. He's bad. I hate him. He's terrible. That loses all your credibility. And as a prosecutor,
Kevin,
you should be able to tell them to shut the fuck up.
Kevin, you're actually incorrect. Everyone's being gagged. Stormy Daniels is being gagged, and Michael Cohen is gagging on imaginary hot dogs on TikTok live to literally make money. And this is not a joke, people. I wish we had it up. The guy is eating fake hot dogs on TikTok with a Trump shirt that has him behind bars. Like, what is this? A 12-year-old kid? Like, this is a lawyer. I mean, I don't know if he's disbarred yet, but this is the guy. Like, we live in a soap opera run by weirdos, pedophiles, and like freaks. That's what I feel like, because all these people, sure, they all look good in a suit, and then you see him doing this thing on TikTok. I'm like, this was the guy. Like,
every time I see him on TikTok doing some crazy stuff like that, I'm like, damn, this is Michael Cohen. This is their star witness. And you got a couple star witnesses that are nuts, and then you can't forget what it all started with Michael Avenatti too. So
that guy is
you know what I mean?
bozo.
So from the start to now to where we're at, it's all been an absolute shit show. And it's funny to see break out, because this is what the Democrats are like depending on now. I made a video today of like, what are the Democrats going to do now? Because the Fulton County case got pushed back essentially because of all the stuff happening between the DA and the special prosecutor. The stuff with the documents down in Mar-a-Lago, that's pretty much tossed out because the judge pretty much ruled in Trump's favor. So it's all going downhill for
the
him.
CIA, the FBI planted fake evidence. They took fake papers, put it that said classified with the top sheet.
They did.
Took
I saw
pictures of it. Like, what?
Allegedly.
You have to say allegedly.
Yeah, can't get banned.
Yeah.
No, but 100%. The thing is, though, is that everybody pretty much realizes, and even I don't have this clip up. I might cover it maybe on one of my other shows later this week, maybe on our show later this week. The View even came out and said, and started to realize, as they were trashing Trump and the trial, they started to realize, oh my gosh, like it was almost as if you could see their collective brain cell turning on. And they realized maybe these trials actually help Trump, because a lot of people watch it knowing that he's being politically persecuted. And some of the people that are doing that are, in fact, potential VP candidates. And so real quick, I want to talk about how today, J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, and Tommy Tuberville, I believe senator from Alabama, were at the Trump trial to show support. I have a clip here from, if we can get that pulled up, Cody, of J.D. Vance speaking very briefly at the trial today. The audio is muted. Unmute the screen audio. There we go.
And to all the American voters and American people who are watching this, the one opportunity you get to speak up against this sham prosecution and to say the American people elect their president, not corrupt DNC prosecutors, is to vote for Donald Trump
in November.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And so that was just a quick clip just to show JD Vance there. Tommy Tuberville was also there. He was talking about how the judge and many other in the courtroom were unhappy or were consistently calling him Mr. Trump rather than President Trump, giving him that moniker. It seems like an instance in which now people are realizing that that's where you have to go to kiss the ring if you want your chance at being the VP. Even Vivek Ramaswamy has announced that I believe tomorrow he will be attending the Trump trial. It is not, this is a political event. Trump has shown, I mean, it was already a political event, but it was supposed to be a political event to try to make Donald Trump look bad. And as he does, Donald Trump has spun it to be beneficial to himself. What do you guys think about these potential VP rumors showing up to the courthouse and watching the trial, commenting on the trial, live tweeting the trial, stuff like that?
Do it. I mean, it's a circus, right? They're putting on a circus for you. So perform to the best of your ability in the circus. I mean, bring all your friends. The cameras are already there. They set the stage for you. This is like giving Trump a rally in a pulpit every single day that he goes. And I don't know if the Democrats realized that this was going to happen, but you have all the media there. You can bring any guest you want. The media is going to cover the guest. It's like, thank you. All right, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to shove it in your face.
Yeah, it's all part of the political theater, and again, it's backfiring at the Democrats because they orchestrated this in the first place, to be honest, and it's backfiring at them because they're using this to their full advantage. I'm talking about Trump, people around him. This is perfect for them, and I like that these VP candidates are going out there to quote unquote earn the position, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not too sure about Tommy Tuberville. I know JD Vance is pretty high up there on the short list, but yeah, it's definitely good. And I love the fact that that's happening.
Absolutely. I'm really loving JD Vance. If you haven't gotten a chance, go read or watch the movie Hillbilly Elegy. You'll understand why this man actually deserves to be VP. I got to be honest, he's been moving up my list of what I would want as a potential VP because I really like the guy. But everybody go check that out. Let us know in the comments, who do you think should be Trump's VP? Have they gone to the trial? Haven't they? Why not? Let us know in the comments for all that stuff.
Nikki Haley. But while you ponder on that comment, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to discuss who is the big pharmaceutical companies whose vax suddenly got wiped off the market, taken down off the market. And if for some reason we go dark, go catch us on Rumble or Twitter.
We'll be right back. And that is our sponsor, Freedom 2.0. I do want to take a moment and talk about them. They are a great sponsor. We love working with them. And they're not just another water company. They're advocates, strong advocates of protecting the First Amendment. They also make incredible water that has this incredible filtration process. If you haven't tried it, you need to try it. It tastes really, really damn good. And I'm going to bring this one back because we haven't sent it in a while. It has no fluoride, so it won't make you gay. Plus, instead of your money going to companies that support sex changes and things like that, like Dasani, they actually help people like us create more content for you. So helping them helps us. Head over to freedom20.com and use the code Breakaway for 15% off your order. Stay hydrated and stay free with Breakaway USA. And with that being said, I'm going to our next segment. I'm going to be very careful about what I say because we already have a YouTube strike, and we know how YouTube is. So what we're going to do is talk about AstraZeneca being pulled off the market. But I'm going to do something. I'm going to read so that I'm not misconstrued or I'm not liable for any kind of YouTube strikes. I'm going to read directly from the Daily Mail article. This is all over the news. But if you haven't heard, and producer Cody, if we can pull that article up. AstraZeneca has removed its COVID vaccine worldwide after a rare and dangerous side effect linked to 80 deaths in Britain was admitted in court papers. Okay, so here's what the article says, and then I want to get everyone's thoughts on this. AstraZeneca is removing its COVID vaccine worldwide months after the pharmaceutical giant admitted that it can cause a rare and dangerous side effect. Never heard that one before. The jab developed by Oxford University can no longer be used in the EU after the company voluntarily withdrew its marketing authorization, coming into effect today. Similar applications to withdraw the vaccine will be made in other countries that have previously approved it, including in the UK. Australia's Therapeutic Goods Authority discontinued the use of the vaccine back in April. So this is not the first time that we've seen the vaccine being pulled off. Once it was heralded as a triumph for British scientists. It has now come under intense scrutiny in recent months for a very rare side effect causing blood clots and low blood platelet counts. They admitted in February that the vaccine can cause thrombosis and thrombocytopenia syndrome, which has been linked to more than 80 deaths in Britain, as well as hundreds of serious injuries. Now, the article continues, but this is interesting because this is, as far as I know, the first that one of these companies has admitted to what was widely speculated by conspiracy theorists to be one of the major issues with these vaccines and what it was causing in people. Now, there's been a back and forth. Companies have vehemently denied it. Government have stood behind the backs of these companies, and now the fact that it's coming out in court papers, I think maybe the government, allegedly, should give us not only apology, but kind of open up the books and allow us to see what's really happening. Because this is just really crazy, and I would love to get both of your thoughts on this here.
I'll be honest real quickly. My immediate reaction to that is the fact that this was public, or not public, but this was discussed in court a few months ago, and only a few months later, this came to light. Makes me really kind of like question the whole process of this, because they essentially admitted that in court, and then for a couple more months they allowed for this vaccine essentially to be out on the market. So that's one thing that is kind of annoying, honestly, is that when something like immediately like this comes out, I would probably I would rather them come out immediately and say, okay, we need to pause this right away. Don't wait a couple months, because I believe all of this became public because of them legally having to release the court papers. Imagine if they didn't have to legally release the court papers,
Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely. Having to legal, I agree with that. What I want to talk about is, first off, there should be a massive class action lawsuit, in my opinion, probably the largest class action in the history of humanity. But I want to talk about something that has nothing, notice the winks, nothing to do with any of that whatsoever. I don't know if you guys saw this story just last week. Out of Phoenix, Arizona, a former Major League Baseball player has died at the age of 43. On Friday, the Arizona Diamondbacks announced the sudden passing of Sean Burroughs, who, according to the Little League International, Burroughs passed away suddenly while coaching his son's Little League game on Thursday. Burroughs was a Little League hero, becoming the first American-born player to throw back-to-back no-hitters in the Little League Baseball World Series. The organization said he led his Long Beach team to back-to-back championships back in the 90s. They go on to list a lot more about his accomplishments as a baseball player, and are not able to give a serious reason as to what he died from. All we know is he died suddenly. Now, completely unrelated to all of what we just talked about with
Absolutely unrelated, completely.
And having hypertension or issues with your heart, completely unrelated to all of that. We have seen so many stories of people who are dying suddenly.
Very young as well.
At very young ages.
And a lot of them are athletes, right? And this is happening sometimes on TV, which is really interesting. But again, we're not saying at all that this is related to any of this stuff that's going on.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out is that the power of the legacy media in not talking about what they don't want to talk about. If you Google AstraZeneca, which I've done, which I did today, And I did it a few hours ago, and I did it right before the show just to make sure that it was the same. What you're going to get are kind of just positive stories about what they're doing. Apparently, they're investing $1 billion in France. Those are the headlines. The headlines, you have to search for this story. And I want to pull up something. This is from The Guardian, okay? And when I read it, I almost couldn't believe it. And here's the headline: AstraZeneca's COVID vaccine is no more, but its remarkable success must not be forgotten.
Wow.
Just imagine that for a second. After the story just broke because of court documents, not voluntary. This is a counter propaganda that we're seeing in the news media, and it just shows you how just out of their mind they are, and everyone's realizing this now. It's absolutely it's just crazy to me.
Did you guys see a couple days ago, like that clip go viral of Chris Como on PDG's
That's what I was
podcast?
just thinking.
Thinking. Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect example of the type of conversations that we should be having, because Chris Como, he came out and he said, and he stresses this. He says, I don't know if this has to deal with long COVID, which actually New York Post, they came out with an article citing a bunch of doctors that debunked this whole idea of long COVID, or referring it to possibly being one of the jabs, but we're not even going to go in there. Again, this is Chris Como saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this, saying that, he's experiencing some weird stuff in his blood work, and he can actually feel it as well, right? And he's transparent about that, and he's coming out and saying, I can't believe that I was pushing people to get this, or I was, very negligent, or perhaps, I was being pushed to say certain things and whatnot when I was working at CNN. That's the type of conversations that we should be having, because obviously when we get articles like this, we should be able to say, hey, what about all the stuff we saw on TV nonstop?
And even with that, he has come out now and said that he fully endorses ivermectin. And and that he was totally wrong about it, entirely. And I think that's the thing that's really, really sad to me, is that when he's on a national cable news network, literally cable news network, CNN, when he's on that, and he'll bash ivermectin. Oh, Trump is saying you're going to bleach yourself and you're going to have to take this horse drug if you get your veterinarian to give you a prescription, all that kind of crap. He'll do that. And then he goes on the Patrick Bet-David podcast and he says the truth, like, hey, maybe I was wrong. And yes, the Patrick Bet-David podcast gets a lot of viewers, but the viewers of that, I guarantee you, are the ones that already knew ivermectin worked. And it makes me so sad, because all the people that heard him with the massive Q-tip and talking about how you need to go get the vax and your ivermectin is horse dewormer, Trump's a lying piece, they're not watching Chris Cuomo on the Patrick Bet-David podcast. And so the people that were brainwashed, while it's great that he's coming out and he's saying the truth now, the people that were watching him before are not watching him anymore, or at least most of them. And so they're not getting exposed to the truth. And they're still out there thinking that Trump said to drink bleach and take a horse drug.
Well, and you know what else he did too? And I don't know if you guys remember this, because I used to watch CNN back then, when everything came out, and I was like, okay, let me figure out, everyone's saying it's really bad, but there's really no one that I at least watch or trust, kind of, right? And I've always liked Chris Cuomo. He was a bit objective, at least he had some hard questions. But and I don't know if you guys know this, but he got COVID pretty early on, and every single day, so he was at home, right? CNN would go to him, and he would say, here's what happened all day and all night. Here's how he felt. It got worse. Everyone's saying, oh, it's just a headache. No, it's not a headache. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, I've watched him for quite a long time, and he's saying it's a lot worse than everyone else is saying. So it comes out that, who knows if it was real or if it was fake. All I know is that they put on the Dog and Pony show, and Chris Cuomo every single day in his house, he was in his basement, he was just dressed in regular clothes, saying, oh, it's so bad. I have these lucid dreams and this and that. And he did a massive disservice to people by doing that. And I think he's doing even a bigger disservice by saying, well, maybe I was wrong. Just say, dude, I lied. Like that's what they told me. Like, just come out and say it. Don't do these half truths.
The one thing that I do want to say is that I do feel like we still have journalists that are looking for that juicy story that obviously, like, because I mean, again, the vaccine and all this stuff was created by who? By the Trump administration. This was all happening under the Trump administration. They would have loved something juicy like that to attack Trump. So sometimes I wonder, I mean, did they know all this stuff behind the scenes and they would just come on TV and just lie in front of the American people, or were they useful idiots? And, based on history, we know that a lot of them are probably just useful idiots. And I feel like Chris Cuomo hasn't even owned up to it fully yet, because at least he's wakened up in terms of like, yes, I'm sorry about all this stuff, but I don't think he understands that he was a perfect example of a useful idiot, a perfect mouthpiece for the propaganda. And at that point, you don't know if it's the government or special interest, right? Because the government at the time was Trump. So bureaucracy, who knows who's doing all the stuff behind the scenes. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm glad it's coming out now, and people understand it. And it's going to be a lot harder to do something like that to the world population, at least in our lifetime. Maybe after, we've gone, just like there was a 1918, Spanish flu. People forgot about that. Just how, we fought communism for a long time, and to a certain extent we won, but people forgot about that, and now it's back again. So, obviously they say history repeats itself. And unfortunately, I think this is something that we're going through this exact thing right now.
The one thing I'll just to tie back to the topic of the segment is, I don't know how much this is a win for the quote unquote conspiracy theories, because at the end of the day, they said that this is 80, and there's been 80 deaths, right? And there's been so many jabs taken, right? Like it's in the billions, right? Yeah. So and I don't know how many people worldwide are vaccinated, but I'm sure it's over 1 billion. So when we're talking about 80 and it being a side effect, right? It may not be the win the anti-vax crowd or whatever crowd you want to call them is looking for, but this is definitely some conversation that we should be having, because look how much we've had to dance around this entire topic over here.
And we still are.
We still are. Like I literally, I'd never felt so constrained to talk about a topic on a live stream like this. And it's because I'm sitting here and choosing my words so carefully.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have to dance around it just shows like we can't even talk about court papers. Like this is up public stuff and everything like that, and it's like we're scared to talk about it, but this is a conversation needed to happen.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why everybody, that's why we tell you to go follow us on X, follow us on Rumble and stuff like that, because while YouTube has a really good really good user interface on the back end, those other ones actually allow us to say the truth. So make sure you go find us, Breakaway USA, and all of our other channels, like mine, Speeches with Cav. David, I don't know your exact title on Rumble or anything like that, but find us on those, on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Rumble, because those are free speech platforms, and that's where you're going to get us unabridged. So
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I think are we wrapping this segment up? Take a little quick break. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then don't go anywhere, because we're going to tell you guys where you can also find us to make sure we're getting all the news right away. So we'll be right back after a nice short break.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some freedom to up. Now, the Constitution is awesome. That's one in.
And welcome back. So, of course, because we always constantly get censored across all the places, like you just saw, we danced that entire around that entire segment, this entire 15 minutes. But you can always find us on
that was
Telegram.
hard.
Yeah, that was really hard, wasn't that? But you can always find us on Telegram, right? That's like last resort place where if you're somehow banned on Rumble, Twitter, but that's actually the first place where people get all of our news, all of our posts and everything like that, notifications about our lives, our schedule, all that good stuff. So t.me/breakaway, or scan that code, screenshot it so you can save it for later, so you can continue watching the show with us right now. Go in there, join the family in there. Let's get into another great segment. So I woke up this morning. It's Monday. You don't really expect Monday to be too exciting, but you have all these great news from GameStop to the court card crumbling for the Democrats to an amazing poll coming out of about battleground states. So, producer Cody, if we can pull up what did I want? I want the video first. That's what I want to do. Let's watch this video, guys, because I want you guys to see that's the article. Let's pull up the video. It's right under that article, essentially. Not in the article. It's in the agenda. You'll see it. But the video is absolutely incredible. It's CNN all shocked about what's happening with the polls and whatnot. And it's hilarious, honestly. It was funny to see them like be all shocked or whatever and try and down it down and explain it and whatever.
Yeah, they couldn't believe it because he was up like over 10 points in some of these instances.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really wild.
I know exactly which, and I think we might be having a hard time pulling up this video. I do know that I have it actually, and so I can make sure that we get it pulled up. Producer Cody, look right here. I think this is the right one. Just so we can get that pulled up.
There was one main one, and they were just losing their stuff. That's why I really want to watch it. Perfect. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Let's watch it right here.
Okay. Look, these Sunbelt battleground states. Frankly, for the Joe Biden campaign, these numbers are an absolute disaster. The smallest lead is in Arizona for Donald Trump. He's up 6. Look at this, 9 in Georgia, 13 in Nevada. My goodness gracious, my God. That is a huge lead. No Democrat has lost that state since John Kerry lost it back in 2004. How about these Great Lake battleground states? This is something that the Joe Biden campaign can work with. Look, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump up 3, but that's well within the margin of error. Wisconsin, Donald Trump up 1, well within the margin of error. And actually, a Joe Biden lead well within the margin of error, up a point here. This they can work with the Joe Biden campaign. This, the Donald Trump campaign, absolutely loves. And it looks like a lot of the other polling on the Sunbelt battlegrounds.
When you're looking into the numbers, why do you think Biden is doing better in the Great Lakes and Trump is doing so much better in the Sunbelt?
Yeah, the Trump coalition is changing. That's basically what's cooking here. This is at least one of the big reasons why. So this is among likely voters in all these battleground states we just spoke about. Back in 2020, 84% of the Trump campaigns, the Trump coalition was white. Look where it is now. It's 78%. The non-white portion of the Trump coalition is 13% in 2020. Look at this now. It's 19%. So the Trump coalition is becoming more diverse. And of course, those Sunbelt battleground states are more diverse than the Great Lake battleground states.
You're looking at the Nevadas and the Arizonas here.
Of course, if you look at Nevada, Arizona, heavy Hispanic population, Georgia, heavily African-American population, with the Michigan does have some black voters in it, but Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are heavily white.
That's very interesting. Okay, add it all up. What does this say about where the race stands right now? We're talking Electoral College and the race to 270.
Yeah, the race to 270. It's advantage Donald Trump, but he's not over the 270 mark.
Stop it there.
Bro, so, what's going on with my whites?
Yeah, you got to talk to your people, Kev.
Man.
Like, we're going to vote for Biden this time? Like,
oh my God.
Why?
I don't know.
You got to have a word with them. But gentlemen, just to add a little bit more context to those numbers, the poll numbers revealed how issues like cost of living, the economy, Israel-Hamas war, and immigration have caused widespread dissatisfaction among Americans, all while raising concerns over Biden's ability to improve their quality of life. About 70% of voters polled said that their country's political and economic systems need a major overhaul. And 13% of Biden supporters believe he would be able to bring about such change during his second term. So 70% of Americans agree that there's an issue and needs something to be done with it. And only 13% of Biden supporters feel some type of confidence that Biden will be able to do that in his second term. A little bit more, just before I get all of y'all's reaction about this, 40% of Trump supporters polled said the economy and the cost of living is one of the most important thing. But the key interesting thing here is that Trump and Biden are now tied among people between 18 to 29 years old. They're tied in the Hispanic vote. And just more context, Biden carried the Hispanic vote by like 60 or 70 compared to, Trump getting 20, 30, 40% or whatever. So he's winning all across. He's winning a lot. And as you can guys see, the only support that he's losing is among white folks. So what do y'all think about that?
Kev, I think you
Well,
got to explain yourself.
Yeah,
with that
well,
one.
that's the thing that's really fascinating to me, because I guarantee you a lot of people look at that and they're like, and because even you watched that CNN video and you saw that they highlighted that Trump now has 19% with non-white voters, and everybody's going to look at it and be like, oh my God, the blacks, the Hispanics, they're all winning, like Trump's winning. I saw that coming. I said back in 2020, it's crazy. Like, even though Trump lost, which is what I'm supposed to say to not get banned on YouTube. Even though Trump lost, I still said back in 2020, I said it's crazy how, if you look at the numbers, he still gained a crap ton with all these minority voters, all these non-white voters. I called it. I said it's going to even be bigger in 2024, no matter who even back then, when I didn't know it was going to be Trump, I said, no matter who the Republican nominee is, they will gain even more with non-white voters. But what's fascinating to me is that white people are losing. Why is that? I think that's what more people need to be talking about. And is it because it's just percentage? So it's not like it's because there's less white people or anything. So why are white people, especially when we notice so much with these Palestine protests and other things that are going on socially, that being white is kind of under attack, that you're not allowed to be proud of yourself if you're white, that white people are bad, they're evil, they're terrible. Why would they lean into the people that call them bad and terrible? I really don't know. And it must just be because they say that the way to not be bad or terrible, or to be less bad and terrible, is to like kiss the feet of illegal immigrants or some shit. I don't know.
I'd be interested to know whether they included in that questionnaire, or whether one of the reasons is because Bobby Kennedy's running and he's taking some support.
Maybe.
So
Could be.
I can very well see that being the reason why. That's, to me, makes the most logical sense, because I mean, you don't have that many pro Palestine, anti-Trump people. Anti-Biden, because then they wouldn't go. No, it doesn't make sense, because then he wouldn't support Biden either. So if it's not going to Trump, I don't think it's going to Biden. I don't know who's switching from Trump to Biden this time around. Like, oh, hey guys, yeah, things are a lot better than before. They're either going to Bobby Kennedy because of the Palestine issue or the vax issue, or I don't know. It's a hard one.
It is a hard one. And I want to take you guys to another really interesting point with all these polls that we're seeing here. The three states that we saw that are pretty still close is is the blue wall, essentially. You still got Wisconsin still going 1 point over to Biden. Michigan is close, and so is Pennsylvania. And honestly, if Biden holds all of what he won last time and he wins those three, he wins the presidency. That's his easiest route now to winning the re-election there. So knowing that he has to secure the blue wall, or not secure the blue wall, but Trump needs to at least take one of those states away while continuing to show strength in Georgia and all these other places. What would be the best VP candidate out there right now? Because we need to win one of these states. It's mandatory, essentially.
I mean, if you ask me, he's got Pennsylvania. If he keeps all those three states, who would the VP pick? Who would the VP pick be? That's a hard one. I don't know.
Needs a VP pick that would be really, because the problem with those northern states, I don't know if you can call them northern states, but they're up north from me, and they make up the blue wall. Those are going to be your more liberal, kind of not so conservative friendly areas there, and they're looking for more of a social friendly conservative rather than a hardcore conservative. So I feel like a good VP candidate could really help out there.
See, what I believe right now, David, and this is not to be like mean or anything, but I think you're creating a false dichotomy. I think that you're saying that, or not even necessarily a false dichotomy, but just like a false scenario in the fact that it has to be based on the VP pick, that's what's going to win over these states. Right now, one thing I know is Wisconsin is a fascinating state, and the fact that back in 2022 they elected a Democrat governor, but Ron Johnson a Republican senator. Ron Johnson still has not, and Laura Loomer, as much as Laura Loomer can do some great journalism sometimes, she's absolutely retarded retarded sometimes too.
Yeah.
And she
And we've
posted
called her
some,
retarded on this show more than once.
and she came out and she like blasted the fact that Ron Johnson and a bunch of other people have yet to endorse Donald Trump. I really think that's a strategic decision. And that's why I'm saying it's not necessarily just about a VP pick. I think that Ron Johnson is waiting until closer to the election to endorse because he knows how important his endorsement can be and making a news headline out of his endorsement. If Ron Johnson comes out now, nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to be like, oh my gosh, my moderate Republican senator endorsed Donald Trump. No. If he does that a week before the election or whenever early voting starts for Wisconsin, then he can come out, say that, and Trump might be able to edge into that plus minus 1% margin of error that currently has Biden winning. So that's really
you don't think though that a good VP pick could help swing like a state like Wisconsin 5,000 votes, 3,000 votes? Because perfect example of what you said, they voted for a Democrat governor, but here they picked Ron Johnson as their senator because again, Ron Johnson isn't your hardcore MAGA conservative, right?
You're right. But what I'm saying is that it's not just the VP pick, because there's other things that play into the factor of it.
Oh, 100%. I was just wondering if a strategic VP pick could help out in these battleground states. I definitely agree with you 100%. It won't come down to the VP pick.
Here's my issue about that. And I didn't come up with this idea, so I'm not going to claim ownership of it, but it really struck me as interesting. And, I know that we've joked about Nikki Haley being a VP pick, and that would really help with, the classic conservatives, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know who said this, but it said, no, Trump has to pick someone that the deep state would be just as afraid to have as president, like of Vivek. Because if something were to happen to Trump in the White House and you get Nikki Haley as VP, guess what? That's what they wanted all along. They don't have to go through this whole process of the voting and stuff like that. They just got to, something could happen to Trump. So you pick someone who's, kind of moderate, et cetera, wishy-washy, can be strong-armed into doing whatever they want her or he to do. I don't think that's the position. I think Trump is ahead by so much right now. I really think you got to pick someone who people can identify with, like Vivek, right? He's an immigrant, and I know there's a lot of Ethiopians over in Minnesota now or whatever. Who knows if there's anything there. But regardless, I think he has to pick someone that is very similar to him.
And that's to an extent, I'd say similar to him. We're gonna talk because I would kind of disagree, and I want to hear David's take on this too. But that's why I say JD Vance too. So JD Vance has come. I mean, he's been a hardcore conservative since the day he started in office, since the day he ran for Senate. He's from Ohio, Midwestern area, he's in Ohio now, but he also lived in Appalachia. So and grew up in destitute. I mean, if you've read or watched Hillbilly Elegy, you've seen that he learned his values from his grandmother because his mom was high on smack.
Yeah.
And he briefly went through a time where he was hanging out with a bad group of people, smoking weed and getting and could have been on a really poor life track. He left when he was doing interviews to intern for law firms while he was at Yale. He left because his mom needed to be rechecked back into rehab. Like JD Vance is somebody who is the epitome of the American dream. And so that's why I would say JD Vance, because he's relatable. He is not an establishment elite. And he also stands for the things that Trump stands for and relates to the people more so. He's not a billionaire from New York, and Trump does a great job making people forget that he's a billionaire from New York, but JD Vance is not.
I actually don't know anything about him other than just clips I've seen of him. So what I would ask is, and again, I don't know anything about the person, is who made that documentary? What company? Like, who funded it, and why? Why was it made? Like, was it made to maybe push him into
Hillbilly Elegy? So it wasn't a documentary.
It's a book.
He wrote the book.
He wrote it himself.
Yes, he wrote it. It's an autobiography. Well, it's a memoir that he wrote essentially, because it's not just all of his life. It's not autobiography necessarily. It's just a memoir. And then it got picked up by Netflix. So it is on Netflix. You can watch it, but that was before he ever ran for office, before he came out as a Republican. And then he actually announced his run for Senate around the time that it was going viral on Netflix. And then people were like boycott Hillbilly Elegy because he's a conservative, because he's a Republican. And so they were saying boycott Netflix for allowing it when it came out.
Yeah, JD Vance, I've grown to like him a lot, especially once I found out about the whole story and seeing that film. It was awesome, and he's a great example of what you can achieve in America, especially when you have these opportunities. Fabian, I disagree with you about the idea that, or the notion that Trump should pick a VP that's as close as possible to him. I understand the whole idea about, they can't take him out because then they'll get the Trump 2.0 there, which is it's a good point there. But that the thing is that I would want a VP candidate that could perhaps open up the pool to those people, because every poll that we see, there's still 10, 20, some cases 25% Republicans, former Trump voters who are disenfranchised with Trump and are more than likely not going to vote Trump this time around. They may do a boycott vote with going RFK Jr., which is why we're seeing some polls showing he's pulling from Trump. I think he needs somebody like JD Vance is a great example, actually, because he's kind of like Mike Pence. Trump won the first time around with Mike Pence. He wasn't your black candidate, your woman candidate, your more liberal candidate or by any means. He was more conservative than I would say Trump is. So I think I keep going back and forth. Does he need somebody more socially liberal, like a Tulsi Gabbard type person? I don't know. JD Vance is pretty damn good. Yes. I really don't know at this point, but I do know that the polls are fantastic. And before we get off the polls here, I just want to give you guys another outlook at some polls, because obviously with the presidential elections, there are going to be some down ballot tickets. You're going to have, or down ballot races. You're going to have Senate seats that are really important. You're going to have House seats that are really important. And to highlight this week's Senate race that I think is really important to look at is over in Arizona, because guys, we just saw a poll. Trump was up in Arizona by what? 6 points, 7 points, 8 points, something crazy like that, right?
Around there.
Something like that. So if we can pull up that Carrie Lake poll, I want Carrie Lake. Everybody knows Carrie Lake. She's running for Arizona Senate, obviously. And the one interesting thing that I keep seeing with these polls is that, like, you'll have Trump up by 6 points, and in the same poll down ballot, you'll have Carrie Lake losing that poll by 3 points. And here's a perfect example of that, where we're looking at that right now. Why do you guys think that's happening?
That's interesting. So in the down ballot in Arizona, Trump's leading by 6 and Carrie Lake's losing by 3.
Yep. On the
That's
state,
that's a 9-point swing.
It is
That's huge.
What's the margin? What's the margin of error on that?
I don't know. I'd have to look into it. It's probably about 2 to 3 points.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I did not know that.
I would say, I mean, I've been a person where I try to be nice, because I think Carrie Lake would always vote the way that I would want her to as a representative. But frankly, I think that she comes off as disingenuous, something that I've noticed. I've seen her speak live multiple times. If you've ever seen, and I've also seen Donald Trump speak live. If you guys watched his New Jersey rally the other day, it was absolutely phenomenal. He gets up, and there's been a few times where I've gotten a little bored because he goes for so long. But overall, he treats it, and when he has a really good crowd, he's like a stand-up comedian, and he goes for 2+ hours where he can be really funny for that whole 2+ hours. And he's really good. Carrie Lake, on the other hand, whenever I've seen her speak, I call them TikTok speeches. She gets up and she'll have really good 15 seconds to a minute, where what it does is it seeks to, every 15 seconds to a minute, get the crowd to clap. And it'll go from issue to issue to issue to issue, where she'll go 15 seconds about immigration, a minute about patriotism, 15 seconds about inflation, a minute about Biden being terrible. And it'll just be, like I said, a TikTok speech. It never actually gets to the heart of any issue, and never actually makes you realize her as a person. It always feels like it's a campaign speech. And that's how Carrie Lake is. She seems disingenuous to me. And while it might just be that she's a media head because she was in the media prior to ever running for office, maybe it's just because she's so used to media, that she comes off as inauthentic. It might be that. But I think that's really what it is. She just doesn't come off the same way as Trump. People don't like her.
Oh, 100%. And that's, I think, a big part of it too. But I wonder what you guys think about this. One of the big things that she constantly, propagates is how the governor election was stolen from her in 2022 is an extension of what happened to Trump in 2020. How much is this a losing talking point for Republicans all around the country? Honestly, this going back to the past, complaining about losing an election. Is it a losing point? Is it important? It doesn't seem like it helps these candidates that run on these points.
I don't know if it does unless you're Trump, because it was everyone around the country is now seen, if not has already seen what happened. The videos, the magical ballots at 3 a.m. Now they have 280 or 380,000 ballots that there's no image of now. So all these funky things happening. I don't know if individual candidates can make the same claim. And to Kevin's point about what you were saying, is I think a little bit about that, rather about her and the way that she delivers her speeches is because she's been in the media for so long. So I'd be curious to see her, and I have never seen her on a more longer form podcast where it kind of opens up, but I'm curious to see if that's maybe something where you can get a little more insight, because I've seen her and I saw her speak at AmFest, and sure, she's hitting all the buttons, but that's because that's like a big speech as compared to a campaign rally. So I don't know enough about the inner workings of Arizona, but I know someone who lives in Arizona that can come on and tell us a little bit more about that, because I think it'd be really intriguing, maybe Thursday or next week, to come on and just say, hey, what's going on with Carrie Lake?
Well, even if we pre-record something or ask somebody, let's ask, because our good friend Austin Smith, I know, is very close, who we've had on the show before. I know that he's been pretty close with Carrie and was a part of, I believe, her initial election campaign, might be working with her on this run as well. Maybe we ask him to take like a 5-minute video. I don't know, whatever, just answering.
Austin Smith, this is your shout out right now.
Yeah. For real.
Before we wrap this up, one thing I just don't understand at the end of the day is that she lost the governor race 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago at this point. And now she's going for the same style race. Essentially, it's a statewide race here, the top of the ballot here again. I don't know. I really don't know why we do this to ourselves at the end of the day. You're obviously not a great candidate. Otherwise, you'd have been the governor. I understand that you believe that it was stolen from you. But, I mean, let's have reality today. At the end of the day, you haven't won a court case regarding that allegation and whatnot. So I don't know. I really hate seeing stuff like this, because as much as we can have Trump back in the White House, we can have 55 Democrat Senate majority. And then what? We have a lame duck president that they're just going to go after every single day. So any last words before we go to Kev's quick hits?
Oh, I'm ready for Kev's quick hits.
I'm ready for those things.
Let's do it.
Do we have anything else before Kev's quick hits? Do we have an ad or anything? No? Kev's quick hits. Let's do it. Okay, everybody. First quick hit. I know we were just talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. I wanted to talk about this.
Amazing.
Vivek Ramaswamy on his podcast brought on conservative firebrand Ann Coulter, who I have mixed feelings on. But I just thought this was probably one of the funniest things I had ever seen, and just so out of pocket. Let's take a look and listen to this clip.
On today, somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement. And on this question of nationalism and national identity, somebody who I've been fascinated by for a long time and have interacted with on social media, but for the first time we're having at least live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American Black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you're running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Look at his face.
I love this. I love this. It's probably one of the funniest things. So he has this whole monologue. I didn't play all of it, but he has this whole monologue where he goes in and he plays a little bit where he's like, and you saw a little bit of it where he kind of like is sucking off Ann Coulter a little bit, like, man, like she's a firebrand. She's so like she's very thoughtful and everything. And then she comes on and she's like a little complimentary and she's like, but I wouldn't vote for you because you're an Indian. And I just thought it was so funny. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you think of Ann Coulter? What do you think about this take?
So there's a his response was really good. I mean, the guy is absolutely so quick at coming up with like, I mean, it's just pretty incredible just listening to him talk. Well, he pulls things from different areas, but he made great points and he was talking about, well, citizens that are here that are, that become citizens, they pass a civics test, and those people typically even pull much higher or they know much more about the Constitution in the US because they took classes and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I never really thought about that. And Ann Coulter, being Ann Coulter, was kind of like, yeah, but I mean, I'm still not going to vote for you because like I don't know if you're telling the truth. And she was like, I don't know if any politician's telling the truth. She's like, so why not have this safeguard and just say, well, at least he's white, so there's more of a chance that he's not lying. I was laughing. It was funny, and then I was thinking about how America obviously came to be in America, as far as like the Louisiana Purchase and then how the land was taken from Mexico after the Mexican-American War. And I was thinking, Ann Coulter, she never really talked about the fact that the French had obviously Louisiana, and then the Mexicans had the whole West Coast. So there's Americans that are like 7 generations American, and they've been Mexican the whole time. Yeah. But she did say something. I believe she said, and don't quote me on this, I think she said something like, if you were maybe like at least a 3rd generation American, then you'd have some skin in the game, something like that. And I was laughing.
She's hilarious, honestly. And like you said, Kev, I have mixed feelings about Ann. And but one thing that I'll say is that I believe that what she said actually represents, I don't know how much percentage, but I want to say more than half of the percentage of the Republican Party, is that I don't think that they'll really vote for you if even if you were born here, if your parents were immigrants or something like that. I don't think that they find that really that appealing. And I think Ann talks about this idea of having a safeguard policy, meaning that you're like 3rd, 4th, 5th generation. And like, for example, I wasn't even born in America, and I couldn't fathom the idea of being elected into office and not having America's interests first. But I understand how a lot of people may see it differently. So I understand what she said. And I think Vivek went on a podcast recently and talked about that whole situation. And he said he understands where she comes from. He was born in Ohio, I believe. So he's an American, but his parents are immigrants, right? So she always makes interesting.
She's always interesting. I think that people a lot of times, because she is, there's a lot of times where she comes out and she seems like a shock jock in the way that she says things. People should really look into the work that she did as an attorney through the Monica Lewinsky scandal, because her involvement in exposing Bill Clinton is absolutely insane and fascinating. As she worked in part with the prosecution on that case. So anyways, that's Ann Coulter for everybody. And I've always been very interested in her as a person. She is very, very smart, and she oftentimes gets written off because she says crazy crap that gets people pissed off in a soundbite like that. But that's that one. Up next for the next quick hit, we got ChatGPT comes out with
this was trippy.
This is great.
I have not seen this.
My opinion, it's radically controversial. So I think we could even maybe have some debate on this one. Let's play this clip.
How's it going?
Hey there. It's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling, though? Are you in a cool industry-style office or something?
Well, can you take a guess at what I might be doing based on what I'm showing you here?
From what I can see, it looks like you're in some kind of recording or production setup. With those lights, tripods, and possibly a mic, it seems like you might be gearing up to shoot a video or maybe even a live stream. Are
Yeah.
you con-
In fact, we've got a new announcement to make.
That's exciting. Announcements
dude
are
sounds
always a
gay.
big deal. Judging by the setup, it looks like it's going to be quite the
DEI
professional
hire.
production. Is this announcement related to OpenAI, perhaps?
It is.
I'm intrigued.
And in fact, what if I were to say that you're related to the announcement or that you are the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. Are you about to reveal something about AI? Or more specifically about me as a part of OpenAI? You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea. What's the big news?
Yeah, we've got a new model that can interact with the world through audio, vision, and text.
So
Wow.
that is what's going on. That is the new announcement from OpenAI. We got ChatGPT just about a year ago, and now OpenAI has already come out with a visual and an audio response. So this artificial intelligence that can interact with the world around it. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, number one, we always see prototypes that look sexy and work, and then they actually have the model and it just doesn't do anything like it's supposed to do. I feel like this is one of those things where it's half edited because number one, that thing didn't shut up. So if I'm just trying to talk to someone, I'm not going to let someone babble on until I start speaking again. If you notice, he was interrupting the AI because it just kept going. Second of all, it has way too much emotion and opinion. Like, how is it even modeled? Like, what's it modeled after? Like, she's just some sassy girl. And then third, yeah, I get it. This is coming. And obviously, I'm not in agreement that OpenAI working with Microsoft, which wasn't supposed to be in the very beginning, is any semblance of what we should have as AI in the future, talking to it, exposing all of our secrets. This is like a struggle session, or like things that the Scientologists do where they take all the information you tell them and then they blackmail you. So I don't believe that was the actual working model. At some point, I get it. It'll be there, but not impressed.
Really? Okay. Interesting take, David.
Yeah, it's a little different than my take. I was actually pretty impressed about that, but now I'm actually questioning just how much was that actually edited? Because you're right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. You're so right. Like we see all these beautiful AI things, and they show you all these videos, and then when you get it, it's like poop. But if this is real and everything like that, that's pretty damn cool. I can't lie, and I think it just further shows like the where we're at, as a civilization right now. Like we really could achieve a lot of amazing things as we keep exploring artificial intelligence. I know there's a scary side to it, but Fabian, you and I, we always talk about the transhumanism side of things, how that could potentially lead to space travel. So every time I see something like that, I get excited because I'm like, okay, cool. That's human advancement. No, there's risk to it, but this is pretty damn cool. I can't lie.
I was going to explain. Okay, a little deeper. Here's why I'm not impressed with it, because it didn't really tell me anything of value. It's just talking.
That's true.
Just to fill space. Oh, that's a cool sweater. Oh, it says OpenAI. Oh, what's up with the roof? Like, none of that is anything that is like doing anything. And I've used the latest AI models where you try to have it create a picture from you. It's pretty dumb still. So to tell me that this is just going to talk about nonsense, like what utility does it have other than like an emotional support that I can get? But if you're trying to like have it work for you, I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time. It's not as conversational as that thing, even if what are you just talking to it for just a talk?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and that's where we get, because like that's the thing that I find fascinating is you both came with relatively like you want to advance it more. My whole thing is very Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. Like your scientists always never stopped asking whether or not they could, that they never stopped to ask whether or not they should. I don't care whether or not we can come up with some level of a tech or an artificial intelligence that can tell me everything based on just showing around my camera. I don't care. I don't even think that we should have artificial intelligence for the purpose of emotional support like it seems like this thing might be able to do. Why? Because that while it might provide a temporary release, I talked about this. A lot of people are turning, it's hitting record numbers. People are turning to AI girlfriends. I talked about this on Speechless about a week ago. And what that does is, while it might solve the issue, you might save a kid from committing suicide real quick in the short term, and that'd be a good thing. What does that mean for the long term of society? We have a society that will no longer reproduce because they're much more satisfied with the girlfriend that will do everything. I even just saw a report that came out that young men who have AI girlfriends are more likely to verbally abuse them. Like,
wow.
Why? Because it will do every little thing.
It's a slave.
Because
and when a slave has no right, yeah.
Exactly. In fact, one of the ways that young men verbally abuse AI girlfriends is by threatening to delete the app. It sounds funny, and because it is, but at the end of the day, when you think about it, like, man, where are we gonna go with all of this stuff? Like, you look down the rabbit hole, and we don't have enough time because it's supposed to be a quick hit, but you look down the rabbit hole, and 5, 10 years, 3 years from now, we start having lefties that claim that their AI girlfriend deserves the same inalienable rights as you and I.
Oh, it's 100% coming. It's called the bioethics, I believe, or the something like robotic ethics, and they're trying to figure out when it can pass a Turing test, meaning when it can fool us into believing that it's real, that it has consciousness. At what point do we have to afford it human rights or robotic rights? So they're already starting to plant the seeds of all of this law that's being formulated right now, because they're smart, so then they can vote. I mean, we're letting illegals vote now, apparently. So at what point do we let robots vote? And then how are we going to campaign to robots if it's all data driven and there's no emotion based off it? It's just a really weird world. I think about it a lot. And that's a whole other subject for a whole other topic, but something that we should do.
We should maybe one of our debate nights we can talk about that, which reminds me, everybody, make sure you tune in on Tuesday nights. We will be getting our debate night show going. I believe tomorrow night we are going to try to have our first one. So make sure you're subscribed, liking, all that fun stuff. But that's our ChatGPT one for now. That's not a done conversation. It's just done for tonight. Our next one, because I knew that one was going to be heavy, probably just one of the funniest things. I retweeted it today. This is no hammocks. No hammocks allowed on the bus. Take a look and look at the
It says no hammocks. We've got a whole. Where's the no hammocks sign? We got a whole list of things. No. I can't see you. You can't see me. You don't come out of that. I'm not here. No. What? Oh my god. No. Oh my god. You can't stop me. Well, oh my god. I won't be stopped. I said I won't be stopped. You see that? Oh my god.
All the barrel rolls.
Oh my goodness.
Look at the guy in the hat with the sweet stash and just looking like dumbfounded.
What the? Come on, just drive the bus. Everyone's got places to go.
I don't think we can. Can you get down so we can get where we're going, please?
What?
Dude, please.
I'm staying in the hammock. I'm not taking this bus. You know what? There's AC in here.
Dude, get down.
I'm not getting down.
Get down.
The bus is not moving.
Get down. Get down. We have to go.
Oh my god.
I don't know why. I thought this thing was the funniest thing in the world. I saw it on Twitter and I reposted it, and I thought he had a point. In my opinion, I thought he had a point. He starts off the video saying, where's the sign? Show me the sign that says no hammocks allowed. And I was like,
that's exactly what I do pretty much.
At that point, if there's no sign that says no hammocks allowed and I'm not allowed to do this, then like if it doesn't explicitly say that in the rule book,
you're good.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, what I'm thinking about is, okay, how did those straps that he had look pretty hefty? If this guy's so mentally disturbed, how does he know how to hang a hammock and doing it in a moving bus and no one stopped him? The guy hung both the things, somehow got in the hammock. Okay, it was pretty high off the ground, got in the hammock, and then everything happened. Like, I need to know the backstory of this whole hammocking.
Well, I think you can visit your local college campus, because I think he's lost. I think he meant to go hanging around the encampments.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was wondering where this was from. It must have been LA or something like that, because I feel like this would totally be something a homeless man would do in LA.
Right.
Exactly. You're opposite right on that one.
But no, I just thought that one was really funny. I thought it'd be a good palate cleanse before we get to something else controversial on the next quick hit here. This is an article that came out of the Rolling Stone back in February. A lot of people, I don't know if you guys saw, but Nick Fuentes was allowed back onto Twitter. And while I vehemently disagree with him on a lot of different things. This was one thing that a lot of his followers were sharing is the fact that the owner of OnlyFans pledged $11 million to the Israel lobby. OnlyFans billionaire Leonid Radvinsky and his wife reportedly pledged $11 million to the powerhouse pro-Israel lobby American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, last year, according to an internal donor list obtained by The Lever. Radvinsky has denied making or pledging the donation, but pretty much public record shows that this would likely be true. There's a lot more to this article, and I could go through all of it, but it's a quick hit. I have been in recent weeks, I have been taking massive targeting at OnlyFans, at pornography, and the way that it hurts young men. I know David specifically is very pro-Israel. I am anti-Islam. I will tell you that. I'm not necessarily I'm not pro-Israel necessarily. I am just anti-Islam. I think Islam is a degenerate religion. And so that tends to make me closer to the pro-Israel side. However, I will also say I'm more anti-pornography than I am pro-Israel. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the idea that the owner of OnlyFans, the man who is raking in money profiting off of young men who are addicted to pornography and young women who are selling their bodies, using a significant portion of that money to go towards Israel. Thoughts?
I mean, we have Ken Griffin and people like Reid Hoffman, and we have all these elite. I think more so the problem is the people who are allowed to make money off something when bad things happen to people. George Soros. I mean, you can go down the list, right? The military industrial complex. They make money when people die. They use their weapons, their bombs, their landmines. So I think it's more of a question of people using money that are gained in a not illegitimate fashion, but I think an immoral fashion, and then using that money, the fact that I think he's Jewish from the name. Okay, he's he's supporting his side. I get it, right? That's
you racist shit. I read his name, and he must be Jewish.
No. But I actually have heard of him being Jewish, so I just want to make sure that I got it right. But yeah, I mean, it's their money. Yeah, he got it from a made money a weird way. I know it's a quick hit, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, look, he obviously made his money in a really weird way and something I don't really agree with, honestly. But it's capitalism, right? So I can't knock down capitalism. At the end of the day, AIPAC is really interesting in the sense that I think a majority of it funds like Democrats. It funds Republicans as well, but it just funds overall candidates that are pro-Israel against candidates that are very, very loudly against Israel. That's like their favorite races to fund there. So I really don't know what to think about it at the end of the day. Politics and money, that's always dirty. You don't really know where majority of the time the money comes from. That's why I call it dark money. And it's there. So let's be honest, it's probably the least concerning thing that I've seen regarding money flowing into into politics as of late. So, but it's always a funny, headline, and I'm sure the Nick Fuentes' crowd was sharing that all around because anything related to AIPAC or whatever, they're all over that. So
no, absolutely. And again, when it comes to Nick Fuentes too, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this controversy, but if he was sharing anything, if he personally, I didn't see him necessarily, just a lot of the people that follow him, but if he personally was sharing anything like that around, go find the video of him looking at tranny porn, real video actually out there. Nick Fuentes really likes tranny porn. There's a real expose about it. I could find it for everybody out there, but it's really easy to
have to make a watch party.
Yeah. And so if he's complaining about the OnlyFans guy donating to Israel, well, then what does he think about tranny porn? Because he obviously he seems to watch it a good amount. But I wanted to cover that story because we seem to be always like anti-Hamas protesters, anti-Palestine protesters, and I wanted to show that we'll cover anything. We'll
Yeah.
talk about anything from any side, but we do have to cover some of the idiots that are anti-Israel, that are pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, everything like that. And they're still at Columbia University. And in fact, their graduation was just earlier this week. And here's an example. I have 2 videos of them ripping up their pieces of paper that they paid a lot of money and spent 4 years getting, all this stuff. Take a look and a listen to these quick clips.
Van Hassel.
She put zip ties on her wrist and she ripped it up.
Chen.
You didn't think about that before, did you?
Ida Kamra.
She's got a Free Palestine sign.
They're
Huang
allowing to get the
Sutliff.
degrees. That's crazy.
Jessica McTeer.
You know, I want to see in 10 years where are they now?
Joy.
I have
Absolutely.
to see this. I have to see this in 10 years. 2024 or 2034.
I have the other clip here. This is the same beginning clip that you saw. It just kind of shows her ripping it up a little bit better. Take a look and listen to this one.
I gotta see this.
You can see her. Yeah. Then she takes it and she's got her hands zip tied. Like you said, she didn't really think of it.
I wonder what her family thinks about this.
Exactly.
So
And
proud, probably.
These were students, and this one specifically, the one that ripped it up. I don't know if you guys noticed, but so she had her hands zip tied, and she was also wearing an LGBTQ colored scarf, like a shawl, and a keffiyeh, which is one of like those African thingies. So these are the people.
Oh, she got a master's of social work. Oh,
Yep.
Look, I mean, fantastic. That's why we send them there for $90,000. This is
that's a
Columbia
DEI
University.
hire in the making.
It's beautiful.
I just thought it was really fun. I was like, I think it's so funny when like you're so proud of your L. Like when you're taking an L, like you're getting up there to get this degree, which is what you paid all your money for. And anybody, like if you've ever been to anybody that has a professional degree of any kind, you go to like a dentist, you go to a lawyer, you go to a doctor, you go to even, I guarantee you, social workers, they have their degrees hung, framed, everything like that, because they're proud of the work that they put in to get to where they are. And you have these people with for a war that they really, if you think about it personally, have no stake in, and they have
Have never been there and will never go there.
Exactly. And in 4 years, they take 4 years to get this degree. And because it's the trend of the moment, they rip up their degree.
Fabian was saying I wonder where they're going to be in 20 years. And I was just going to say, you will not find them in Gaza, in Judea, Samaria, what is known as West Bank. You won't find them there. They're the loudest voices in favor of them. You can see them. They're like almost losing their ability to graduate college, right? And all this stuff. But at the end of the day, they're not going to take your first class flight ticket that I'll pay for, all paid for, to Israel, because you can't land in Gaza. Haha. You land in Israel, an actual state, and then you can make your way inside Gaza. But you won't survive more than an hour, most likely, in Gaza. That's why you won't find them there tomorrow. You won't find them there in 6 months. You won't find them there after the war ends. And you won't find them there in 10, 20 years, Fabian. They're going to be doing the same thing.
What I want to know is this. Is she going to ask for a replacement of that thing? Because you really don't have anything to show anybody, and in a job op, what are you going to show them? The video, be like, hey, that's me. I didn't show you my degree. I'm the girl who did that. Maybe she got a master's of social work, which is a master's in basically how to adopt communism and whatever. But I think that she low key is going to ask the dean or someone to give her a copy. Because I mean, what do you have proving that you graduated? They're going to have to contact the school directly. Who knows? What a bozo.
Absolutely. And that's what we have for these quick hits, is we have some bozo after bozo after bozo. But I do know that some of these topics might even come up tomorrow night on our debate show. So everybody, make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fun stuff when it comes to Breakaway USA, myself, Speechless with Kev, Fabian Lux, and David Kate.
There you go.
You know it, baby. You know it. So yeah, tomorrow's going to be fun. It's going to be a dry run. But bear with us and tune in and let us know in the comment section what you thought about it, what we could do better, and what you would like to see, because it's going to mold and morph and adapt as we go along and get more of those episodes done. So thank you so much for everyone to everyone for tuning in. I think that's it, right, David?
That is it. We went through everything. We got it all done. And I was just going to say, make sure that you tune right back in Thursday night as well, because we'll be here again to update you from everything that happened between now and Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to producer Cody for being an absolute stud. And we will see you guys
Producer
next
Cody.
time. See ya.